Every day, we rise, challenging ourselves to work for what we believe in. At U.S. Border Patrol, protecting our borders is more than a job. It's a calling. Agents answer the call, working together to keep our country and communities safe. If you're ready for a new mission, join U.S. Border Patrol and go beyond. Learn more at cbp.gov/careers.
So we built a mountain.
Hey gang, today's guest is Jonathan Higgs, lead vocalist, rhythm guitarist, and keyboardist for the Manchester, England rock band Everything Everything. Together we take a deep dive into the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the hit single, Cold Reactor, taken from their 2024 album, Mountainhead. Jonathan explained that Mountainhead is a concept album, and that the lyrics to Cold Reactor are a direct tie-in to the rest of the record. The words are heavy and heady, and his description behind the concept, it's way out there. Not gonna lie, I have a bit of lyric envy right now. How someone could come up with something so killer, yet so abstract. The production was handled by lead guitarist Alex Robershaw, and sounds absolutely slamming. Jonathan's falsetto voice is so good. I mentioned to him that it sounds like another voice when he breaks into it. His placement and delivery is beyond unique. So for all this and a ton more, don't you dare touch that dial.
Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast.
Well, hey John, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I thought that you would be maybe a little bit fatigued because you're in the middle of a new record cycle, doing a bunch of press here. But I did all the heavy lifting here, and I hope you have a good time. I really appreciate you sitting in with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Cool. And I understand you recorded the latest album, Mountainhead, which was just released March 1st. You recorded it in Stockport, which my band is going to be there in 1 week.
No way.
You ever heard of the ARC production studios there, ARK?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there doing production rehearsals for a couple days before we start the tour. Yeah.
Is that a week from where we really are right now, or a week from March 1st?
That's a week from where we really are. So your record isn't out yet, but by the time this episode, everyone's listening, the record's going to be out.
Great.
I understand it was produced by Alex Robershaw, which is your lead guitarist, keyboardist, and backing vocalist, along with Tom A.D. Fuller. And I couldn't find too much on Tom, but it looks like he's more of an engineer, maybe?
He is, and even more adding to that problem is the fact that there's actually kind of a well-known guy around his age who does that job called Tom Fuller, so he gets confused with him loads.
That's why he probably did the AD.
Yeah, that's it.
I was running across the other fella, and I was like, wait a second, I was getting confused.
Yeah, different guy. It's quite annoying, that.
Right. And I want to talk about that as we get into the song, about having someone in your band produce, because I've had that before, and there's definitely pluses and definitely negatives to it sometimes.
Yep.
Sometimes you just want him to be the guitar player and not the producer, and you don't know who you're talking to.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. But I got to tell you, for this podcast, we usually center around a song that is an iconic song from an artist's career. And your publicist had hit us up.
Great.
And Chris, my producer, said, you got to hear this song. And we have to preview this song. We're not going to look for another, hit they had or Spotify. This is it. And,
great.
You guys are about 15 years into your career. Congratulations. Yep. This song's awesome.
Thanks a lot. That's really, really nice to hear. Just before I came on today, I was looking at the description again. I was like, an iconic song. Do I have to choose this? And I was looking back to really old albums, and I was thinking, I wish I could just talk about, the new one, but surely that's not iconic yet.
Well, I'll tell you something. We've kind of stepped out here on a number of episodes. It's been almost 4 years since we've been doing this.
Cool.
And we're up around 200 episodes now. And we've kind of stepped out and said, hey, we're going to take a chance on maybe this lesser known artist. Not that you guys are necessarily lesser known, because we feel like, hey, this and this song's a prime example. This song to me is a hit. I mean, I could hear this. I'm going to be in the UK soon. I could hear this in the discos after the show. I could hear this on the radio walking through the mall or wherever else. It's just it's a really interesting tune too. The arrangement is very different. And, I like to pick up a guitar and comb through the song. There's some really cool chord changes that you guys do in this track. So can you take us back? I mean, it wasn't that long ago, I'm assuming. Do you remember writing it?
Yes. It wasn't too long ago. I think I started out with, I had a beat going on my laptop, and then I started out just with synths. I had this strange, I don't know how you describe it. It was almost like a sax kind of sound going wah, wah, just over and over again, like that's all I had. And then I got this other sound up, and I thought, well, there's something about this feels a bit like a tannoy system, that wah, wah sound. So I specifically tried to make a sound that sounded like here's an announcement. So I had that little do 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 do, which you hear in the intro, not even in the intro. Yeah, it's in the intro. And I had that just running for ages, and just that wah wah do 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 do, and a beat. I was just listening over and over to that, thinking, well, this could go in like a million ways, loads of potential here. But it already had like quite an atmosphere. And then I think I probably just picked up a guitar or even a bass, lowest of the low guitars, and just started playing along with it. Dun, 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 dun. Super simple chords, because I already had this great feel. And just singing over the top of that, and it pretty quickly I had a verse going, and then I started singing what became the chorus, which is the much more complex bit over the same chords. And I was thinking, well, this is great, but I feel like I need a bridge. I need to separate these up so you don't just get fatigued from this same chord sequence, because the chorus and the verse are the same.
They are, but it's exactly what you said. And man, I love songs like this that, you look at it on paper, at least for the first, 3/4 of the song, it's pretty much the same arrangement, or same chordal arrangement. And it's the flourishes, it's the stuff that you're putting around it and mixing it in. And to the common listener, they don't hear that it's the same progression.
No, they don't. And the vocal keeps changing, and things come in and out and the dynamic changes. All these things kind of feed into, this is something else is happening, even though harmonically it's actually not. But but what you do get when you repeat to that extent is that you can really build tension, which we did with the double chorus. Originally, I think I presented the song to the band as you would hear it. So it was verse, bridge, chorus, chorus, like that, all with the same chords. And the whole song had this growing feeling. So by the time you got to the end of that second chorus, you're just like, really, really, something has to happen. With the just like feeling of going insane.
You're reciting the notes here that I have during this part, by the way, where it starts to change. No, because it's so cool, because you're so right. We'll get to it in a second. But everything you're saying, it had to have some changes, and the changes that you make. I mean, that walk up part that you do, like in the bridge where the chords are walking, and again, we'll get to it in a minute. But the band, aside from John, is rounded out by Jeremy Pritchard on bass, keys, and backing vocals, Michael Spearman on drums and backing vocals, and Jonathan, of course, is the lead vocalist, rhythm guitarist, also plays keys. And we talked about Alex Robertshaw on lead guitar, keys, and backing vocals, who also produced the track. Did you do a demo of this song?
Yes. So I presented that demo in not a million miles away from what got on the record. I think the big change was I swapped out whatever I'd played in to sing along to chords wise for this female vocal patch that I found, which is the ha 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 stuff, which immediately gives the song its identity. Is the very first thing you hear.
Okay, well, I want to talk about that. So real quick, in the and you can't believe everything you read on the internet. You know this, John, but it's said that the new album produced in Stockport, the new album Mountainhead, entirely avoids plugins and effects. So
Well,
is that true or
no? That's not true.
Okay.
I mean, there's.
I was thinking, I was like, wow, these guys are running reverb chambers analog. Like, wow.
Yeah. No, it's that there's obviously loads of effects, particularly reverb and compression and everything.
Okay, well, scratch that. I don't know. That was.
But I think the plugins thing. No, I think there was a kernel of truth in it, because I think probably it got lost in translation. But we didn't use, certainly Alex didn't use in the production of it, soft synths as much as he could handle. He tried to use his modular synth setup, so he was creating these synthetic sounds rather than just getting them from a bank of pre-made sounds. I, on the other hand, just did do that because I'm demoing and I'm just like, well, I want to hear that, and I don't have a modular synth. So I guess it got a bit mixed up in translation.
Does he ever use his guitar to activate the synth?
Well, he was talking about this the other day in a similar situation to this, and he was saying that 90% of the sounds you hear are probably a synth and a guitar playing.
Yes.
Whether
okay.
he's triggering with his guitar, I don't think so. I think he did have a voltage trigger thing a while ago, but I think he just didn't like using it for some reason. So, but no, he's layering in his guitar an awful lot. So you might think, people keep coming up to us and saying, "Oh, what's happened to the guitar with you guys? Why is it just synths now?" And Alex's reply is always, "Well, actually, there is a guitar there. You just doesn't sound like a guitar," which is apparently what you're meant to do is get new sounds out of a guitar.
And that's essentially what I was getting at, because I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions when we start combing through this track, because there's sounds here that are not only very different, but I can't tell if they're a guitar or a synth.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds very synth based. Are these drums all programmed?
No, not at all. They're played.
Not at all.
Well, I don't think it's a question of not at all either. There probably is an element of programming in there, but I seem to remember Mike tracking the hats and crashes and stuff. We do it in quite a separate way. So he'll do kicks and snares together, which can sound quite unnatural, and then he'll do a hat pass, and then
and then of course you can take those drums and process them however you want.
Yeah.
But this sounds very looped. It's a very cool sound though.
Yeah.
I got to ask about the bass. The bass is really punchy,
Yeah.
in your face. It's got this mid range, but it almost sounds like a synth bass. Is that actual bass that's was played?
I think it might be a combination again. But the other thing Alex does a lot is he takes an organic sound like a bass stem, and he'll put it through his modular, and he'll use all of the dials and knobs to slightly attenuate that sound in a way that
I love it.
is slightly unusual, and it makes you start to think maybe it's a synth, but it's almost certainly not, especially in this case, because the bass sort of carries the song really.
Well, I want to jump into this right now, John. It's 3 minutes and 51 seconds. This intro is awesome. I love it because it kind of throws you for a loop right off the top. It's 3 bars total. The first 2 bars are a staccato synth and these vocal pads that you were just talking about. And they sound strikingly real.
Yeah, I think they're samples. I think they must be samples.
Yeah, and I was like, whoa, those sound like real voices. And these voices are fluttering left and right. They're panning back and forth. On bar 3, the drums and the bass kick in. And on bar 4, we hit verse 1.
So we built a mountain by digging an almighty hole. And on our backs we carried every rock and stone. But now the hole is deeper than anybody ever planned. And we're blocking out the sun.
So we built the mountain by digging an almighty hole. And on our backs we carried every rock and stone. But now the hole is deeper than anybody ever planned, and we're blocking out the sun.
Yeah, so the whole album has, well, it's called Mountainhead, and it has this overarching concept, a very simple one. It's sort of set in a alternative world, alternative universe even, and everybody in that world is obsessed with this one big idea, which is to build a huge mountain. Everybody's doing it. The mountain is bigger than anything you could ever imagine. But the only problem is, the more they build it, they have to dig into the ground, and they have to live in a deeper and a deeper hole in worse and worse conditions in order to make this mountain huge. That's the whole idea, just a mountain and a big pit. And this song is laying it out. It's describing it. Across the record, there's lots of references, and it's much more nuanced and more subtle. But this is like, bam, here you are. I'm going to tell you the story about what we're doing here. There's no subtlety to it. I literally just lay it out.
It's interesting because, I've read this a ton. I've been combing through these words, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah. It should give you a feeling of something, a bad situation, and what is this mountain all about? But and as the lyrics go on, obviously we're getting in. It starts to show itself a bit more in terms of the mood, I think.
Well, the lyrics are great here, and don't take this the wrong way, but I probably listened to this song the first 3 or 4 times, and I wasn't listening to the words.
Good.
And I'm a words lyric guy. I was just feeling the melody and just letting the song take me where it wanted to take me. I got to tell you, you are known for your falsetto. But yes. I have never heard, and my listeners know I have falsetto envy. Okay, I can do some backing vocals, falsetto envy, but don't solo them. Okay, don't solo them.
Right.
I sound ridiculous. Your falsetto is I've never heard anybody's quite like it in the sense that I feel like it's another voice. I feel like it's another band member doing those one words, and I have them all listed here.
Right.
In the first verse, you only do it on the word backs.
That's right. So
why?
Well, our whole career has been trying to utilize my voice in a more sparing way, shall we say. The first album, I'm doing it an awful lot, and it wasn't the nicest sound. And then I slowly got better at it, and I've more recently tried to use it less, and so that when I do it, it's much more special rather than doing it continuously. I think that can get quite tiring to listen to sometimes.
It's killer where you space it out in this song.
Yeah, I think that's another reason why people have liked this song, is that it feels much more special when I do it. I think that note was just out of my range, so I had to jump there. That backs, wherever it is, it wasn't deliberately trying to single out the word backs. I often, when I first started singing, I would sing in my normal voice, and if I got to a note that was too high, I would just switch to falsetto for that note and come back down again on the next. And I didn't think anything was weird about that. But everyone was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Sorry, excuse my French. What are you doing?
No. Let your French rip, because I almost said it back to you. Like, what are you thinking? Like, to me that is so foreign.
Yeah,
okay?
it's definitely
as a singer.
Rule breaker. Yeah, it's a rule. It's a breaking of the rules.
Yeah.
And I would do that all the time in my early bands, and slowly my falsetto got better, and my ability to do this switch got very good, because it was how I was singing all the time, because I was like, of course I am. That I can't sing that note any other way, and I want to. And it slowly, I guess, once other people started to hear it, that became my sound and my thing. But really, that's just what I've always done.
Yeah, no, you got a killer style. It's really, really different. I gotta ask, when you're on the road, have you ever lost your voice where like your lower voice is gone, but you can hit the falsetto, or reverse? You can't hit the falsetto, but you can hit the yeah.
The reverse has happened.
Oh,
there was one time I stayed up all night drinking whiskey with another band.
Of course you did.
And then it came to the next day, and I just couldn't sing falsetto. And it's like, maybe some singers can get away with that, but that's like 60-70% of my set is falsetto. And another time we went on stage at a festival, I think in Spain, and they do everything late there. And I think our set time was 3 a.m.
Oh,
and my voice was just fucked in it, and I couldn't. I had to just leave out all the falsetto bits, and it sounded ridiculous.
I'm laughing, my friend, because I've been there, and it sucks.
I mean, we didn't care. It was 3 a.m. We were like, "Is anyone even watching this?"
Yeah, yeah, they're all pretty imbibed at that time, probably as well. On the line that we're talking about, and on our backs, we carried every rock and stone, and there's that 2-note keyboard flourish that happens there.
Yep.
On the next line, the voices. They change patterns. On the line than anybody ever planned. That 2-note keyboard flourish happens again. And on the last line, there's another synth sound panned off right that takes us into pre-chorus 1.
The sun, I believe in life until you believe in killing time. By the fingertips, I'm hanging on.
I believe in life and terror. You believe in killing time. By the fingertips, I'm hanging on.
Well, yes. I think I'm speaking as if I'm one of these people in this crazy mountain world, and I'm trying to demonstrate that it's not great living in the pit. So there's this sort of feeling of desperation that swamps the album, really. That's certainly what the fingertips line was about.
Well, you say you believe in killing time. Is that they're killing time by digging that hole and just passing the time?
It's more like they've given up thinking about anything. And I'm trying to say I've got things on my mind, like life and death and beauty and horror and all these things. And the people around me they've resigned themselves to punching the clock, that kind of feeling. But everyone has, and it's not a slight on them. It's more like this is what we've all been conditioned to do, is just be on this conveyor belt of life.
Well, those voices are really busy here now, panned off to the right. And we get these growly synth distorted stabs on each of the changing chords here in pre-chorus. One happens 6 times, and every line here is sung falsetto. It's the only time in the song that you get a block of falsetto. And was it always that way? Was it that way on the demo?
Yeah, it would have been. What often happens when I demo is that I sing the whole song in falsetto, and then I send it to the guys, and they're like, John, can we just, for once, can you put it down a few keys and try something else? So that happens a lot. And I think this is a case where I preempted that and I sang it down on purpose. But that needed to go. There needed to be a freshness for the bridge, so it stood out, because it's the same chords, and you've just had a verse, which is me singing quite low. And then it was like, this feels like, oh, is this the chorus? It certainly feels bright. And it's like, no. You wait. The chorus is coming up.
It's coming. We got something else for you. I got to ask you, you ever think you've been in the other room and your 3 bandmates are talking smack about your falsetto?
I think probably over the last 15 years. Yeah, must have.
I love it. Well, chorus 1, it's right at the 39-second mark, and got a lot of lyrics here. I got to tell you.
Yeah, I know.
For a chorus, a lot of times you want it to be a little more succinct, but
Absolutely.
There's a lot going on here, but it works effortlessly together. I absolutely love it.
Sorry, Satan, but I gotta do this evil on my own. I haven't left the house in nearly 30,000 days. I sent you the image of a little yellow face to tell you that I'm sad about the emptiness that's all around me. And I got something ringing in your ears when everything we love becomes a picture of a simulation. It wakes me in the middle of the night. I love you like an atom bomb, but I become a cold reactor.
Sorry, Satan, but I can't do this evil on my own. I haven't left the house in nearly 30,000 days. I sent you the image of a little yellow face to tell you that I'm sad about the emptiness that's all around me. And I can't stop the ringing in your ears when everything we love becomes a picture of a simulation. It wakes me in the middle of the night. I love you like an atom bomb, but I become a cold reactor.
Yes, it sounds like a mouthful, doesn't it? Somehow that doesn't feel like that in the song.
It's awesome, man. I can't get the song out of my head. It's such a great pop track. What is going on?
Well, it's a sort of.
You started out with "Sorry, Satan," and then I don't even know how many years 30,000 days is.
No, neither do I. Actually, I worked it out long after writing the song, and I think it's about 80 something years, which thankfully is approximately a lifespan. So I'm essentially saying I've never left the house. Well, that line in particular, I on the one hand, I'm saying something that sounds absurd, which is I've never left the house, but I'm trying to incorporate this feeling of isolation that I feel happens to a lot of people who live in the West now, and our lives can feel quite isolated and lonely. But also, we were coming off the back of the pandemic, and there's certainly a group for whom that hasn't really ended. I think people have lost a big chunk of their sociability, and they are staying indoors still, and they are avoiding social life and things like this. And this is kind of like a shout out to them, really. It's kind of like I'm trying to relate it to that, as well as I'm trying to get this story of this mountain and the pit involved as well. But I think really it's like the tumbling masses of words is supposed to give you this sense of somebody who's really on the edge and they're about to lose it. There's something about having the simplicity of those, just the 3 chords, and it's the ones we've already given you a minute of. So you feel pretty safe about the song. And I think that gives me the freedom to actually splurge a million lyrics and this very complex little thing, because you're feeling okay. You feel quite safe with the song, and then you're ready to accept that detail. In the past, we would have maybe done all that detailed vocal, and we would have had a really detailed guitar at the same time, and we would have had these weird chords, and we would have had a drummer playing all over the place, and it would have been an absolute headfuck for anyone to listen to it. And yeah, people do like that about our band, and we can do that stuff, but I wanted the message of this to really get across, and I knew it was quite a lot to ask, all this information dump. So it's like, we're going to streamline the music and allow this space for this insane person.
That's a perfect explanation. And don't go starting your own songwriting podcast and rip me off here, John, because rarely do I get guests on here that go that in depth and kind of think like I'm thinking about it, because I can separate myself. I didn't write the song. So I'm looking at it from over here, and I'm looking at it from a really detailed microscopic way. But the way that you just described this chord, I couldn't have said it any better. Absolutely. You're a minute in, you're feeling those chords. You're just letting the lyrics kind of take you. And I think that's what happened the first 3 or 4 times before I centered in and zoned in on the lyrics. That's what was happening to me. I didn't care that it was busy lyrically.
Exactly. It's weird, because I remember when we had all these songs written, and then we were saying to our label, like, what do you think's a single? And they were like, well, obviously called Reactor. And we were like, one of us particularly was like, but it's kind of prog. That's not a chorus you can put on the radio. Like, that's, usually you would simplify right out for a chorus, as you were saying earlier. And this is like, no, we're actually tripling, quadrupling the complexity that doesn't even rhyme. It doesn't repeat itself. It's insane. And yet,
I know,
really like it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You brought up the rhyme. I didn't even think about that.
It doesn't rhyme.
There's no rhyme scheme here. Well, we get the Sorry Satan. We get a falsetto. I Sent You falsetto. All Around Me, Simulation, and a cold reactor. A lot of the same instrumentation carries over from verse 1 and pre-chorus 1 here. The Oz are doing an even different pattern here, and there's a 3-note haunting guitar part. Sounds like it's crying, kind of wailing, panned off to the right, running through the whole chorus. And those are really the first real guitars that I hear in this. Is that correct?
I couldn't tell you, because Alex very much controls guitar land, but I know that's a guitar because I play that part live. It's simple enough for me to do while singing all that complexity. It's just din, din.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think he wrote that to give it this. Partly, you've got to give the vocal space, as I was saying, and that really does a good job of that. But also making it quite legato and reverby like that, it gives you instant sadness without, it immediately communicates to everyone listening, like, this is a sad sound. Like you said, it sounds like crying.
Yes.
Just 2 notes with a load of reverb, and it's like, oh right, this is like we're sitting back. And if you didn't want that, you would just have like ding 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 or whatever. But that it instantly gives you a melancholy over the top of the driving thing, which is a really good trick without having to take the drums away or go half speed or anything like these tricks. It's just like, no, this is sad, but we're still driving towards the same destination.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. We got lots more with John Higgs coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
Everybody in your crew identifies as either Big Mac Burger, McNuggets, or McCrispy Sandwich. But you're the Filet-O-Fish Sandwich all day. That crispy fish, that savory tartar sauce, that melty cheese, that pillowy bun. Yeah, you get it. Every time.
And if you love the Filet-O-Fish, right now you can catch 2 of the classics you love for just $6. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
One Hit Thunder is a podcast where we both celebrate and have a good laugh about bands and artists that had just one hit that we all know. Each week, we're joined by a guest from the world of music or comedy to learn more than you ever thought you would about some songs that you can't forget. And we decide if they brought the one-hit thunder or were nothing more than a one-hit blunder. Look, if you listen to the show, you're probably going to laugh, and I guarantee you're going to crush next time the bar has music trivia. Tag Team, Jane Child, Meredith Brooks, Looking Glass, Sean Mullins, Eiffel 65, EMF, Crash Test Dummies, Crazy Town, Chumbawamba. We have hundreds of episodes in our back catalog and a new episode each week, so pass the Dutchie, make sure you're connected, and subscribe to One Hit Thunder wherever you get your pods.
And he was looking at another picture of a man instead of looking at a picture of a man instead of looking at a picture of a man.
And now, back to the show.
Right after chorus 1, we go into a 2-bar re-intro. Right at the end of it, a loud synth part, panned off right, noticeably louder, drives us into verse 2.
So darker supermarket, some of us stayed in the pit because it felt so comfortable to dwell below. We made the mountain bigger, though we had forgotten why. It's a dream I'm in with you.
So dark, the supermarket. Some of us stayed in the pit because it felt so comfortable to dwell below. We made the mountain bigger, though we had forgotten why. It's a dream I'm in with you.
Yeah, so I guess I'm trying to introduce a humanity to. It's all very well having a concept and having these ideas, but you need a human in the middle of it, or no one will care. And obviously, the chorus is quite a desperate guy, and I've got the hanging on by the fingertips. But I really wanted to put in this. It's a dream I'm in with you, as if none of it matters as long as I've got you. And it's only a very small reference to there being another person or a significant other, but it's suddenly you get the sense that there are individuals in this bizarre, not very nice place I've described that are joining together and trying to find their way through it because they've got each other. You know, there's like a love story, but I've done it with one half of one line rather than writing a whole song about it. It's just like, by the way, I've got you, so that's just why I'm still here, kind of thing.
Okay, what is the supermarket referring to?
So, well, I try to, because I've got this concept for the record, and it's roughly me talking about capitalism or late stage capitalism, however you want to phrase it. That's kind of what this mountain is, and the pit is kind of the toll that leaves on us as humans, be it psychologically or even physically. And I wanted to put any reference to buying or selling or commerce or money into every song, so that you just, whether you know it or not, you have this feeling of the flow of finance, because that's really what I'm talking about. So the supermarket is the obvious place, this sort of soulless consumption area. And I also really like this Clash song, Lost in the Supermarket, that I've known for a million years. And I just felt like a very, very subtle reference to that. So Dark Supermarket. Yeah, I wanted to give a reason why people might put up with the pit as well. So this is why I had this line about some of us stayed in the pit because it felt so comfortable down there. You've got your comforts in the lives we lead now. You've got your TV channels, and and you've got people who'll come to your door and give you food and all this stuff, but it doesn't account for human happiness. So I wanted this sensation that the pit, some of the people stayed in the pit because it was like, yeah, this is great, we've got everything we need, but it's like, no, you're still in a pit though.
Yeah, when I get comfortable, I get bored.
Yeah,
I don't like to be comfortable. I like to have a
need
little
another distraction. Yeah,
a little bit of underlying tension to keep me going. I know it kind of sounds weird. Verse 2, we get a falsetto on the word felt, and we also get in this one. This is the weird one. This is my favorite. On the word forgotten, you don't do falsetto on for. It's just on gotten. The back half of the word. It is so different.
Yeah, I mean the melody. The way I've forgotten why. It was just, I could have gone, the way I've forgotten why. It would have been, I would have been really pushing to get that higher note. And it wasn't about that being a rock guy. It's sad. We've forgotten why we're building this mountain. And so to leave it as falsetto it was a practical way of me achieving that note as a singer, but also it keeps the vocal from becoming too aggressive and too insistent on itself, because it's not me being triumphant about the fact that we've forgotten. It's me saying, I don't know what we're doing. We've forgotten why we're even doing this. And falsetto is another instant sadness thing.
I love the falsetto because it's you don't know when it's coming. It's unpredictable here.
Yeah.
Verse 2, a lot of the same basic instrumentation as verse 1, but there's a new, I'm calling it a dreamy synth that comes in here on the back half of verse 2. Then we get into pre-chorus 2, which again, all the vocals here are sung in falsetto, but we get new lyrics.
With you. The soul is hanging far above the head of man. Can you see the steel is glittering?
In the night, the sword is hanging far above the head of man. Can you see the steel is glittering?
Yeah, I think I've read something about, is it the sword of Damocles or something? And I think it probably was that. It was some kind of mythical sword. I don't know what it was. I really wanted to talk about a sword in that second bridge. It felt like, I
have to get a sword in here.
Yeah, it did. I can't explain why, but sometimes I feel with my lyrics, if I feel as though I've given the audience enough very palatable, easily digestible stuff, like one of these verses, which is like quite simple words telling you a story, then I feel as though I've got a bit of play area to put in some more poetic stuff. And I'm like, I'll give you the simple verse. The bridge is for me. I'm going to be as poetic as I want. And then the chorus is a different thing. So I think I was like, I really want to get the idea of something hanging over everybody, like it might fall at any time and kill you. And I think the sword of Damocles is that thing. And I'd come across it at just this kind of foreboding nature. I wanted to make the song I wanted to demonstrate the power of this mountain idea, to give it a doomy vibe. So I'm just describing literally everyone feels like everything's about to collapse. That's what I'm going for with this big sword thing. But it also paints a very nice poetic image, which pleases me, and it sort of doesn't feel out of place. If the whole song was like that, I would just be describing a sort of fantasy world, a Lord of the Rings type thing, and it wouldn't do what it's meant to do.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this next chorus, it sent me for a loop, because not only do we have the regular chorus lyrics, but now we got a whole two other sets of lyrics. This is a double chorus here with new lyrics on the back half.
Sorry, Satan, but I can't do this evil on my own. I haven't left the house in nearly 30,000 days. I sent you the image of a little yellow face to tell you that I'm sad about the emptiness that's all around me. And I can't stop the ringing in your ears when everything we love becomes a picture of a simulation. It wakes me in the middle of the night. I love you like an atom bomb, and I become a cold reactor. And maybe I go missing in the rain. If God is in the mountain, he won't answer me. I say the question, like why does everybody feel the same? The slow degeneration and the crying out on God's mercy. Just look into my jet electric eyes and see a blue reflection of the world inside a dark dimension. It wakes me in the middle of the night. I love you like an atom bomb, and I become a cold reactor.
Same falsetto spots on this first half. Sorry, Satan, I sent you. All around me, simulation, and cold reactor. We get all of those again. But there's some interesting things here. Up until this point in the song, there's no true harmonies. But I'm hearing the most subtle harmony on Sorry, Satan. And then, of course, on All Around Me, it's the first time that the backing vocals are left and right panned. And it's just a totally different feel that comes in on All Around Me right there. I love it.
I think when I first presented the demo, I had every chorus, I was doing backing vocals on through the whole thing. So it'll be all around me. And I was probably even singing a line that went with the as well, which, as you can tell just from my description, is too much information. And this was another example of just because we can do it doesn't mean we should. And Alex was like, no, we'll take the backing vocals completely out of the first chorus because there's enough information there to be getting on with for everybody. And then we'll introduce them in the second chorus, the second half of the second chorus. I don't even know.
Yeah.
And then,
second
even
half.
then, it wasn't on every. It wasn't. It's still not even on every falsetto. We actually talked about this for ages. We scooped out even half of those, so he doesn't do it on every one. He does it on every other one or something like this. I think it's just being sparing with it because it's so tempting to just go, yeah, we'll put them on every single one, and it'll be like the biggest chorus you ever heard. I think it tires people out, and it just sounds less.
And the way you do it, I'm telling you, sound like two people.
Alex and Jez are singing the backing vocals at this point. But yeah, my falsetto sounds like another person anyway. So yeah, you've got this feeling that there's suddenly this choir comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Well, the back half lyrics, I'm going to read these, and you can enlighten us once again with this insane idea that you're running with here, which is so cool. And maybe I'll go missing in the rain. If God is in the mountain, he won't answer me a single question. Like, why does everybody feel the same? The slow degeneration and the crying out, oh Lord, have mercy. Just look into my jet electric eyes and see a blue reflection of a world inside a black dimension. It wakes me in the middle of the night. I love you like an atom bomb, but I become a cold reactor. I love the descriptors here.
Thanks. Again, I've given myself a little leeway to be more poetic towards the end of the song, because I feel like my job is done with the messaging, and then like I'm gonna have some fun with this jet electric. I'm gonna make up some words. I'm gonna paint a real image. Yeah. So this idea of being a cold reactor, I don't think I explained it before. So there's a line about how I sent you an image of a little yellow face to tell you how I feel. And this is supposed to be an emoji, and it's meant to be people sat in their individual isolation and just sending these little pictures of emotions to each other. And when I say I'm a cold reactor, what I mean is I'm not really reacting. I'm just pressing send, and I'm void of feeling. That's what I mean by cold reactor.
Wow.
But the fact that I put I love you like an atom bomb right up next to that line makes everybody think that the reactor has something to do with a nuclear reactor, which is really fun bit of wordplay, when really I just wanted a way of explaining that I really love you, but this world we're in makes my feelings just cold. I'm just not really here. I'm just sat in the dark pressing my emojis.
I love it. I love it. Well, on the back half here, that distorted synth joins us yet again sporadically on the back half. And on the turnaround, it gets really busy on the last stanza of the song. We get falsetto on Single Question, Lord Have Mercy, Black Dimension, and Cold Reactor. On Lord Have Mercy, the backing vocals are there again, pan left and right, but they're not as featured. They're not as featured as the last time.
Oh, okay. I don't know why that would be. I mean, it could be something that Alex did. It might be Chenzo who mixed its decision.
Well, he might have felt that it was a little too much because there was still another quarter of the chorus to go or something. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't make me go, oh, it ruined the song. It's just, it's cool.
When I first presented the song to the band, it got to the end of that second chorus, and then the song just stopped just like that. It was like you were leading towards this. Something was going to happen, and then no, that's the end. And the guys were like, let's make it a bit longer, but it does need a change. So Alex actually wrote the outro chords, and then he took my vocal and put them over that, and the reharmonization gives it a much sadder feeling. And so rather than kind of taking the song, which already had all this energy, rather than like trying to make it even more bombastic, we were like, we're actually going to chill out the end, as if the sad elements of it have kind of won out. Like this guy's not, doesn't matter how angry he's kind of resigned to it at the end. So that's why you get like a sort of plateau at the end, rather than like a absolutely let's fucking go feeling. It's more like we sadly go down to sleep.
Yeah, no, the way this song ends is killer. You've summed this up perfectly. You touched on this before, but the chord progression after the line "Oh Lord Have Mercy," it switches briefly to this A minor, and that A minor, that cool. Right there, you're talking about that sadness. That just tugs at my heartstrings, and I had to rewind it. That was the first time I listened to the song. I had to go, "Oh, it changed there. What was that?"
Yeah,
that was
the first time,
and
the first time the chords have changed for the whole song, and so it really takes you by surprise.
It works perfectly. It's not out of key. It's jarring with what you're singing, though. at first. When you first hear it, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
whoa, you know, but it's needed in order to get this chorus with this much information and words to be that long. Right after chorus 2, it's a 6-bar musical interlude, just a swirling synth and buried staccato keys, buried, little bit tucked in the mix there before the bridge vocal begins.
Now you're gonna see what's underneath. I'm sorry, Satan.
Now you're going to see what's underneath.
Ah, yes.
I'm sorry, Satan.
Yes, that's me at like the most vulnerable, but it's also kind of like the moment in a film where the hero is at his most beaten, and then he's like, I'm going to kick your ass now. And there's got this real potential. It's now you're going to see what's underneath. And there's no explanation in the song for what that means. It's more like it's time to get even kind of moment, which felt appropriate somehow at the time. But then he doesn't really come back. He sort of goes, after this.
Well, it's funny you say after this, because it's really interesting how this bridge leads into chorus 3. You don't feel chorus 3 coming.
No.
You know, like usually like there'll be this build up and like the drums will go to like a tom and a floor time and like, oh, obviously the chorus is coming. The transition here is trippy. It still almost doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, how did we go from this part? Oh, wait, we're in a chorus, but we'll get there in a second. That chorus changes too. And that's what adds a whole different element.
Yes. This is the section that Alex wrote. So this is when he's reharmonized what I've done. Because often I'll present a demo like this and I'll give him the files. And he's not going to sing on it. So he usually grabs a bit of what I've already sung and tries to make some different things happen around it. Or he might cut up what I've done. That's just a bit of a technique he uses often. And he just picked up my chorus vocal, and had these much sadder, weirder chords underneath it. Which is why when it appears, you don't really expect it. And it doesn't have the sorry Satan either. It just has this, I know maybe it does, but it just has this, you feel like you recognize it, but you're in a new place and it's all a bit sadder and it's all moved on a bit from that tension. It's kind of like a much more resigned display of the same thing.
Well, and if anything, by the time you get to chorus 3, that's when you're going to do a double or a quadruple chorus or something. But
that was what you would normally do. Yeah.
But here we just get one stanza, but you do a combo. You do a hybrid.
Sorry, Satan, and that does something ringing in your ears. When everything we want becomes a picture of a simulation, it wakes me in the middle of the night. I love you like an atom bomb, and I become a cold reactor.
Again, only one chorus here, a couple of new chord changes, and on the last line here, we get falsetto on Sorry Satan and on Simulation, but we don't get the falsetto on Cold Reactor this time. What was the thought behind that?
I think originally it was, I'd finished the song in a sort of really deflated, sort of a cold reactor, just like, I'm done with it. And I think they encouraged me to sing it properly, but we still wanted this feeling of resignation rather than triumph. And having 3 people sing it, especially in falsetto, it just feels like, yeah. And we didn't want to feel like, yeah, we wanted to feel like, okay, it's sad.
A little more melancholy, morose.
Yeah, and it also, it rounds it off. I think having the BVs in there would have made it feel like, why don't we go again? It was more like, no, we're done kind of thing.
Immediately after this, and again, we only get a quarter, essentially, of the chorus. We go into a 16-bar outro. The band continues on as the synth part seems to get a little, I wrote schizophrenic here. It's like kind of doing its own thing and kind of sticking out in spots that it didn't really stick out before in the song. It's mixed pretty loud here. Really sets it apart from the rest of the track. and we get 12 bars of like a church organ panned off right.
Yeah, oh yeah, we do.
Kind of just ends. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome, but how did that come about?
I think the synth going crazy, that's probably, you know how I was talking about, I gave myself a playground to be more expressive in the lyric. I think that section is Alex's production playground. So it's like we've done the song. Yeah. We've fulfilled our brief. Like, here's a bit where you can do some cool production stuff. So God knows what's actually happening there. This will be a synth that he's made, and he's making it do something groundbreaking, I'm sure, but I don't know what it is. It sounds cool. And quite often you find, if you're making a song on a laptop, obviously, so this is talking about the very end here, like you might find that you think, right, we'll end the song here, and you might mute the drums and bass, and because you've got 20 tracks, one of the synths keeps going and it's going to keep repeating, and you're like, oh, that's kind of a plaintive sort of vibe there if everyone leaves, but he's just carrying on his organ, and it would have happened by accident, and we would have all gone, oh, that's a really nice sad way of ending it. We'll just fade him out. He never even ends. He's just like, he's still going, he's still up there, or he's down there in the pit, you know. It's just another trick to communicate a melancholy, rather than me saying I am sad with reverb on. It's kind of like, no, there's just this feeling of being left alone in the dark.
I love the sound. This song is awesome, and I really want to thank you for sitting in and taking the time to be on the show today.
Yeah, it's just been great.
The new record, Mountainhead, out March 1st, and anything else going on with the band you'd like to talk about? Yeah,
we're touring. We hopefully coming back to America, but I couldn't say when. We're going to Australia, going all around the UK, and maybe a bit of Europe too. So come and see us.
Awesome, John. Best of luck to you and the band, and once again, thank you.
Thank you. This has been great.
Call the cops and tell them what I want. My battery's 100%. It all makes sense. Just blame it on the empire, blame it on the empire, blame it on the empire, blame it on the empire.
Hey everybody, one more time, don't forget to check out Everything Everything's Mountainhead, out March 1st, 2024. But in the meantime, don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming right up after a few words from our sponsors.
Hello, Tom May here, host of Future Friday. I've spent the last 15 years on the road with my band, the Menzingers, where I've met all kinds of wild and fascinating people. So I started a podcast. On Future Friday, I talk to fellow musicians about the moments that made them, their passions outside of music, and the curiosities that tie us all together. I've also talked to the likes of UFO researchers, magicians, soldiers, and documentary filmmakers, and I'm constantly searching for folks that can shape and change our view of the world. You can check out Future Friday wherever you like.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, email your best song and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Cora Monroe, an indie shoegaze band from Western Massachusetts, featuring Bill Tolan on vocals and guitar, Jason Roy on drums, Darren Mislowski on bass and backing vocals, and R.D. Blakesley on guitar. Here's a snippet of their song, Angel Dress.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
So, Chris, this is a perfect example of me being so glad that we started this podcast 4 years ago, because if we didn't, I might not know about the band Everything Everything, and man, oh man, am I glad that I do know about them, because this band is awesome.
Yeah, I went ahead and this came through email from their publicist. I listened to the track. I was like, whoa, I think this is awesome. I really think Chris is going to like this. And I forwarded it to you, and you got right back to me like, this is great. We should try to get these guys on. What a great song.
Yeah, I sent it to my buddy Steve. I knew Steve would like it, and he of course did too. I know who's going to like what. You start to know who's going to like what among your friends, and I think that's what you meant about me, too.
Yeah, and Chris, real quick, I got to ask you, okay, how many episodes have we done now? Whatever, 200. I've never, stopped talking to a guest and been wondering about the lyrics as much as I still am. Do you fully know what's going on here concept-wise?
Yeah, kind of.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. I love abstract lyrics, but man, John's on a tangent here.
Well, I think I need to hear the rest of the album, and I'm a melody guy, and I know you said that maybe you're a lyric guy a little bit. Like, I can just get engrossed in the music and kind of attribute my own meaning to whatever I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you ever heard such a unique concept for a concept album? I mean, this is a concept album, right?
It is, and I didn't, I didn't want to make him think I was patronizing him or anything, but it was, you've heard me say this before, I'll have like lyric envy. It's like, how did you come up with this? I mean, I don't know if there's anything I could even take that would make my brain go this way. It's very abstract.
He said it, and I wouldn't necessarily say it based on the way that their music sounds, but he used the word, man, prog. He said it at one point, and you get those sort of prog vibes from this in a way. This sounds like something that Yes would write an album about. Like, we wrote this album about these people digging this pit. I could see that, For
sure. And, I've talked about this, and a lot of times I'm not a keyboard player at all, but I'll write on the keyboard sometimes. I'll just go because I don't know. I'll write some weird chord, and I'll have to figure it out on guitar. And sounds like that's what happened with this track. He just had this loop going of this one sound, and sometimes that's all it takes for inspiration is one sound to get in your head, and next thing you know, you have a song.
Yeah, that little spark of inspiration. He was talking about using that patch of the female voice that inspired him. Yeah, why not that could inspire anyone to write a whole song based around that. And speaking of voice, have you ever heard anyone use the falsetto the way that John uses it? He uses it in such, I'll use the word again, he uses it in such a unique way that it hooks me into the band. It grabs my attention.
It does. And I don't know, maybe it could have been an accident, that one word, forgotten, where he just does falsetto on gotten, not on fur, not the first part of the word. And he was kind of like, yeah, I probably did it this way. I could have done it that way. But yeah, so unique. And I'll say it again. It sounds like it's a different voice, which is so cool to be able to do that.
He's such a heady guy that when you asked him earlier in the episode, why did you just go to falsetto on the word backs? I thought he was going to be like, wow, you caught that. That's because of this. But he was more just like, no, that's just where I went there. But I could have seen him being like, there's a reason I highlighted that word. And who knows, maybe there is, and he's still keeping it a secret. I really liked when he said that, I believe the way he put it was the tumbling mountain of words giving you the feeling of someone on the edge. It is a very wordy chorus. I love songs with tons of lyrics. I'm always striving to write those sort of songs. I'm always striving to write It's the End of the World as We Know It. You know what I mean? Like those songs where the fact that there are so many words and they sort of tumble out of the mouth makes it so catchy. He so effortlessly was able to do that in this song. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, and their lead guitarist, Alex Robertshaw, who produced the record, let's talk about that for a second. I mean, the production's killer. It sounds awesome. I always use my car as the test. I cranked it up yesterday driving. It was on 11, and it just, everything sounds great.
It's pretty cool when you have the producer in-house in the band, and sometimes you do want that outside perspective, but whatever they're doing is definitely working. And Chris, the one thing that I wanted to say as well was I looked a little further into the sword of Damocles that he brought up, and I thought it was so cool. Go to the Wikipedia of the sword of Damocles. You will find that symbol is also used a lot in modern hip hop as an allusion to, like, someone being the king of the rappers and being faced with someone trying to dethrone them or whatever as king of the rappers. But it's an allusion to an imminent and ever-present peril faced by those in positions of power. There's this, you can go read about it. It's basically someone who wasn't king, who the king let him trade places with him for a day. So while the guy was that king for a day, he was getting all the spoils of being king and being all the luxuries of being king. But right above him was a sword that was being held by a single horsehair above his head, meaning it's kind of like at any moment someone trying to cut your head off when you're the king. So that guy who was there was like, no, I'd rather not be king.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's what's going on.
Maybe
So,
that's our next
yeah.
Chris DeMakes a podcast. It's the next one.
Yeah. Chris DeMakes a podcast.
Well, hey, we have a supporting cast here. It's at ChrisDeMakes.com, where you get bonus episodes each week of Chris and I talking at you even more than we already do. We know you love it. ChrisDeMakes.com. Head over there and sign up and give us a follow on Instagram. Chris DeMakes a podcast has an Instagram page. Chris Cephalius, my trusty producer and confidant, puts up tons of killer footage, so go over and check that out. And give us a follow over there. Want to thank this week's guest, Mr. Jonathan Higgs from Everything Everything, for sitting in, and we'll see you next week.
Everybody in your crew identifies as either Big Mac Burger, McNuggets, or McCrispy Sandwich. But you're the Filet-O-Fish Sandwich all day. That crispy fish, that savory tartar sauce, that melty cheese, that pillowy bun. Yeah, you get it. Every time.
And if you love the Filet-O-Fish, right now you can catch 2 of the classics you love for just $6. Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer. Single item at regular price.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Hi, I'm Daniela Clark.
I'm Barbara Ann Wild.
And we are the Honest AF Show.
Our podcast is real, honest conversation with our celebrity friends and pros.
Covering our anything but average rock and roll lifestyles.
All while tackling the hell that is aging and the battle of beauty.
Oh yeah, nothing is off the table.
The Honest AF Show is available wherever you get your podcasts.